All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Inflection Point. Today, we're hosting James Pachucki. James works for a company called M5 Supply. He runs it. James, what is your formal title with M5?
So my formal title is president. I like to go with chief packaging solutionist. That kind of changes every year, but formal is president.
All right, very cool. El Presidente. I like it. So, James, tell us, you're probably on a little bit of a younger side for the folks we've had on the podcast in the past. Talk to us about, your career history and how you wound up as president of M5.
Yeah, so I started out first in my family to go to college. I went to Lehigh University, was an industrial engineer. Through track there, was an All-American in javelin. Progressed into my first role at Crayola, kind of did a co-op while I was still in college. And then right out of college, I started at a company called Brooks Instrument, which was then bought out by ITW. So throughout my ITW career, I worked there for about 8 years, had a various different roles, strategic sourcing, operations, customer care, a little bit of everything. And how this job came about, my owner was actually my first boss out of college. So for 5 of my 8 years, I was under him, global sourcing. He was a top 100 exec. March 2020, he called me up. He's like, "Hey, if I buy this company, will you run it?" Kind of saw it. It was like a UI model at the time. I was living in Chicago for a role. I said, "Hey, let's go with it." Moved back. A week later, the world shut down. Our driver quit. So kind of just got thrown into things. Really figured it out. And then, yeah, really restructured, kind of followed the ITW 80/20 principle, scaled it from around 700,000 up to 2 million in 5 years. See behind me, got the fastest growing packaging company by rankings in America and Philly. So, yeah, it's weird looking back on it. I didn't really aim for that. It just kind of happened. And yeah, so what we do is manufacture and distribute packaging materials. So corrugated boxes, we do ISPM 15 crates, lots of bubble wrap, foam, poly bags, paperboard, a little bit of everything. More specifically, we kind of went from like 85 customers to about 10 strategic customers that we really focus on. Customers who are really going to talk strategic sourcing, procurement. We don't kind of play in that UI model. We don't entertain really bids. We're not, hey, we're one penny less. So yeah, very super strategic customers, which has helped us innovate and grow.
Okay, cool. All right, a lot there. So ITW, that's Illinois Tool Works, right?
That is.
So they're a public company. I can tell you from my prior career looking at public companies, they were a highly, or they probably still are, a very highly regarded public company. So I assume you learned a lot that's been valuable in your current role.
Absolutely amazing company. I was very fortunate there. They kind of go on their toolbox initiatives. They really train you to kind of, cross train, pollinate in different departments. Amazing leadership. So for anyone looking out of college to work for a great company, highly recommend ITW. They're very decentralized, but they're Fortune 200, just great company overall.
Awesome. So M5, you you're the president of the company. You're essentially running it, and then you've got an owner who bought the company. How involved is he with the company?
He's kind of like the captain of the ship, right? So I'm kind of steering in directions, and sometimes my energy gets me, he catches me before we get in trouble and stuff like that. But yeah, he's monthly. We do monthly calls, we text and stuff. Helps me out when we want to kind of undertake large initiatives. But yeah, really just kind of guiding me, and he's kind of let me run it day to day. He's not involved in day to day. Like I said, he kind of bought the company. He's like, "Here, go run it." Yeah, it's been very fruitful. We've gone through some very heavy reorg changes, hiring, any challenges a small business faces.
Okay, cool. Now, as a packaging company, I remember this from studying public packaging companies too. I felt like those types of companies touch every piece of the economy. And so, how much do you feel you get insight into the quote unquote real economy from your seat?
We can usually tell that by when AP is coming in later, honestly, not really by volume, but we're segmented similar to ITW. They have different segments, so as some go up, some go down. So we're diversified across pharmaceutical, industrial manufacturing, e-commerce, a couple different little niche industries like move-in, relocation services. So as some are going up, some are going down. Typically always going up.
What are you guys seeing these days?
We're seeing obviously a lot of a lot of people are scared, I think, by what the news says, but it's weird when like 2020 happened, we grew by selling kind of masks, gloves, and stuff like that. So as a packaging company, we can diversify and find different opportunities. And with our customers, what we did, we grew organically with like, hey, we were only doing boxes. Now we're doing all your crates, right? So, we encompass probably 80% of their spend. So yeah, I really don't pay attention to really many macro factors. We're not really in touch with, what's going on in the outside world. I've been in that world, impacted by tariffs and stuff like that. We're lightly impacted, but I kind of just put my blinders onto that because I don't want to let it get me down. And I'm over kind of the whole global sourcing stuff right now. All our stuff is very locally centralized. We really consolidate and deliver.
Okay, cool. Now, James, you mentioned your preferred alternate title, Chief Packaging Solutionist. Talk to us about what's involved in creating a solution for a company that uses packaging.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I wanted to deviate from the kind of corporate titles, right? Like, hey, manager, director, really to kind of give our guys some ownership. So as solutionists, there's really four core employees here and then one part-time. We wear many hats, right? So for 5.5 years, I was playing controller, delivery driver, purchaser, sales, marketing, everything like that. So really the way I see a solution is encompassing all different departments into one kind of solution. Whereas I run the company, like I'll handle the quotes, the large purchasing, the master supply agreements, rebates, kind of things like that. So we don't have people knocking on doors. I refuse to kind of go down that model, whereas other companies have just a salesperson, just a purchase manager, just AP. So really saying we're solutionists, it's like, hey, we're going to find a solution to your issue, and we have, multi-layers deep. We understand the process. We're not just going to send it back to purchasing to put a PO and get a quote. Really understand our customers' full operations.
Okay, got it. Now, how diversified are you, is M5 in terms of types of customers?
I would say very diversified. So I mentioned earlier, we have some heavy pharmaceutical companies, we have some heavy industrial manufacturing, we have e-commerce. So they all kind of work in tandem and they kind of have their ebbs and flows. And we can really tell, right, when consumer spending is up, we see retail go up. When interest rates go down, we see our industrial manufacturing go up. So very diversified. And, as the companies grow, we grow with them. And then at the same time, we've seen where our number one customer slowly fell down to like number 11 or so, and then came back up to number 5. So we have 100% retention rate with our top customers. So that says something about our service levels.
That's fantastic. Now, I'm curious as to what your vision is for the strategic direction and the growth of the company at this point.
Yeah, so I'm starting to realize packaging is pretty commoditized. So what we're doing, you might have seen on LinkedIn, is I'm going to launch my own little M5 solutions. So kind of leveraging my background in industrial engineering, what we're going to do is start introducing like Power BI dashboards. We're going to dabble into AI. We're going to introduce technology to packaging. So you can be beyond just the material. What we're going to be is the material and the solutions and the packaging intelligence. So it kind of makes it sticky, and then you really understand your data because, I'll say this often, no one really cares about a box until you're out, right? And then people have to answer why a 10-cent box is shutting down $1 million line. So we just want to be as proactive as possible with that.
It makes perfect sense. What's your thought around how to educate your customer about this new offering? And have you started doing that? And how's that going?
Yeah, I started to dabble with some dashboards. We have a fair mix of like old school customers and new school. So what we're seeing is like, hey, I built a dashboard for you. You're already buying with us. We have ordering history. I'll build this dashboard with you, and then just let me know what you want to see. Because what they'll see is like, hey, we get boxes every 3 months, but it's more so the ordering patterns. And then we're building a tool to kind of analyze Uline data, right? Because a lot of people use Uline, great company, I respect it, but they're ordering reactively instead of proactively. So really just educating them and say, hey, if you're buying boxes, bubble, tape, we could do all that for you, store it, and we could be there next day too under certain conditions. But yeah, really just educating them because, I was in sourcing when I was into packaging, it was the hardest category to kind of talk to people about until,
Mm.
it was kind of running out. So that's kind of where our vision is.
Okay. Uh, James, what would you consider to be M5's biggest challenge at the moment?
I think right now it's growth and restructuring. So our original team that kind of came on board, we had grown with them for 3.5 years, but I was doing everything in the business. And really, once we kind of got those rankings, I wanted to keep growing, but the staff wasn't really involved. And then what we did is a complete restructure. So the whole original NIMPAC team made the decision to restructure them. And now we have all young kids under 25 years old, right? We've got a 21, 22, 23-year-old working with me, and they see the vision. I'm very fortunate with this Gen Z. They just want to work and kind of grow with the company. So I think right now it's still handling a lot of the controller items that, I'm taking upon. But, giving these kids enough, honestly, like I have to keep giving these kids something new pretty much every day.
So you feel pretty good that you speak Gen Z. I know I struggled with that when I first started my company 6.5 years ago.
I read a really good book, Aliens Among Us. So, I mean, that kind of just, what I like to say is let them cook, right? Like, let them have their free time. Let them, that's their model, right? Sometimes, they come in early, sometimes they come in late. Let them be kids, and it's weird, right? I'm 36 now, but it's like now I'm seeing this older generation, the younger generation. And that's actually a benefit too, because we're seeing a lot of owners, the next in line doesn't really want to run companies, right? So we're kind of in that prime spot, kind of being that middle age right now to kind of, grow in different ways.
Okay, very good. Uh, what keeps you up at night, James?
I think it's more so the vision, right? I'm pretty black and white, usually have my foot on the gas pedal. So it's like, hey, how are we going to improve next? Day-to-day stuff, we're pretty much, break even, a little profit at this point, but it's really, hey, what's that next step to really change the world? Especially now, that's kind of why I launched M5 Solutions is, hey, how can I differentiate? I'm kind of staying up like, hey, I'm going to build that dashboard. What technology is going to go in it? So I think as an engineer mind always kind of churning, but yeah, we're not really focused on fast growth this time around. I call it like M5 version 2. It's more strategic, healthy growth. So yeah, just kind of managing that and making sure the guys are taken care of here.
Okay. Would M5 consider buying another packaging company?
Yeah, that is part of the goal. We want to grow it to a healthy amount and then kind of see what's out there. And it might not even be packaging, right? Because at the core, kind of like ITW, they have their core foundations. You can essentially run any business on the same foundations. So yeah, that's definitely down the line one of the goals from the owner and some of his investment colleagues.
Okay, great. Uh, who is the typical buyer? What type of person or role are you interfacing with at your customers?
Yeah, so we typically start out with someone that's in strategic sourcing or procurement. So those are the ones we go through the master supply agreements, order points, order quantities, pricing, stocking, kind of things like that. So we'll kind of start at the high level to get the details of it down. And then after, our MSAs are signed, we'll hand it down to the purchasing agents. And we make it really simple. We work on a lot of blanket orders. So we'll just put a blanket order in for 6 months and then they just replenish, replenish, replenish. Whereas opposed to other people are kind of bidding out, issuing a purchase order every time a box comes in. So we keep it really simple. We'll hold the stock for you, release it, and then it's very simple. And as market increases come, we give a certain window to say, hey, this is the market increase. We're fully transparent. We don't put any on top of it, which has helped us win a lot of business because, the market might go up 6%. And we've seen competitors going like, hey, it's actually 12. And it's like, come on, let's be real. So yeah.
Okay, very nice. Um, you mentioned that company staff primarily with younger folks. What's the hiring plan look like at this point?
Right now, I think it's more of offloading my daily duties. So, October 1st kind of made an announcement like, hey, I'm just going to step out of the weeds. Been doing it for 5.5 years. So really just training them. But once we reach a certain revenue amount, we kind of know like, hey, we're going to need someone else. I just want to be very careful with hiring because it's gotten us in trouble in the past. Typically, I kind of just gave jobs because someone knew someone. We're very fortunate that two of the guys actually came from recommendations and they're all stars. Actually, all three of us came from like recommendations. So yeah, we're figuring that out, but we just want to slow controlled growth. And as the solution kind of jobs fill up, we'll kind of hire more. But yeah, we also hire high quality. It's long work weeks, but very rewarding.
So hopefully slow to hire and then don't have to fire, but if you do, that'll probably be a quick decision.
Yeah, it was tough, right? I had to talk to my owner about that. I mean, I didn't that kept me up at night, having to let go of the people I kind of started with. But I've learned from many small businesses, the people you start with aren't always the ones you finish with. And I think the toll it's taken on my mental health, the ability to innovate. I mean, I have a lot of energy now from just a clear head of mind.
That's awesome. James, I've occasionally talked with guests on the podcast about routines. You're a pretty high energy guy. I'm curious, what's your daily routine like? How do you get yourself hyped up for work?
I'm a morning person. I try to wake up like 4:30, 5 o'clock. Typically exercise. One thing I do is boxing over at Malik Jackson's gym. Haven't been to the gym in a while, but just getting up, kind of getting things going. And then, I'm usually in bed by 8, 8:30. So really just kind of coming in before the employees get in, taking care of admin items because every day something new, right? I had 6 clear hours today, and we know that's not going to happen. To really just get up early, get the important stuff done, and then kind of handle whatever the rest of the day takes.
Very nice. Okay, let's talk go to market a little bit. How does M5 approach targeting new customers?
It's weird. We're still in not shambles about that, but we're still kind of thinking about that. But a year ago, I just kind of started being transparent about what I do on LinkedIn, and that's led to like a lot of great connections. Obviously now joining BCA, the Philly 100, it's about building those relationships and just say, hey, when I'm ready to ask for it. But all I've learned is I don't want to approach someone if we're not ready to grow with them. So we're undergoing a lot of stuff the next 2 months. So next year, it's really going to be about asking like, hey, who do you know? And I think you did, I have quite a big Rolodex from, the ITW days, knowing people in Philly. So I love helping people other out. And honestly, they help us out. So it's mainly referrals. So I'm not doing SEO. Our website's outdated and that's okay. But yeah, usually LinkedIn and just relationships.
Okay, very cool. I'll tell you, it seems like every company I talk to these days is a lot, involves a lot of trial and error, a lot of figuring it out. No one's got all the answers for sure.
Yeah, we thought about it, but the thing is, if someone's calling off finding us on Google Maps, like we've had it before, they're like, "Hey, do you have 50 poly bags for my comic books?" And I'm like, "I can't help you, sorry." So it's we very strategic about who we take on.
Makes sense. Uh, James, what else do you feel like our audience should know about M5?
Yeah, I think people have seen kind of the accolades before, but really we're kind of calling this M5 version 2. We're ready to grow with customers who really want to have long-term tenure, want to talk strategic sourcing. And what we pride ourselves on is lowering your total cost of ownership, where our pricing on a single box may not be the lowest. We aim for it, obviously, but we kind of bring in reordering patterns, handling, shipping, emergency blankets, kind of things like that. So really, I want to make sure I grow with the right people. People are going to have those conversations. We do, monthly check-ins. And by check-ins, I mean I do the deliveries just to kind of have a meeting point with the customers, kind of see how everything's going. And then people who want to early adopt with us, right? This technology, we have some of our top customers who are like, hey, yeah, I'd love to try it with you. So people who are willing to kind of share some risk in that, but also see the benefits of what comes out of it.
Okay. Uh, Are all of your customers shipping domestically? Are they shipping internationally as well?
Yeah, a lot of our customers ship internationally, so that's where we're ISPM 15 certified. So, every pallet we make, we put a stamp on it, and then that qualifies to kind of ship internationally. Some of our auto customers, they ship internationally. So, but we strictly do kind of domestically, and we have the ability to drop ship around the country with some of our partners. So, we ship to Maryland, we've shipped to Kentucky before. So those are all old ITW colleagues kind of help out.
Okay, got it. So M5 is primarily focused on domestic shipping, though most of your customers also ship internationally.
Yes. So yeah, we kind of handle on the East Coast, more so the Northeast. So we'll go out to Maryland, up to upstate New York, down to Delaware, and kind of that circle there.
Okay. Any thoughts about growing that circle over time?
I've thought about it, but that comes back into the hiring, right? So we do a
Mhm.
very good job of drop shipping orders. So any customer that needs like poly bags, kind of things like that, where some of our partners handle that, we're glad to help there. But I've learned just focus on the Philly area. There's tons of business here. That's where the connections are, right? We're Philly grown, and it's just that connection, right? If I go to sell in North Jersey, they have their kind of people up there. You don't have that connection, and it's a very tough area. We just kind of stay out of it.
It makes sense. Okay. So get M5 to a point where you feel like you've kind of optimized and maybe dominated your market within this geographic area, and then I guess you could consider looking at perhaps acquiring something outside of this area if that's something
Yeah,
that were of interest.
Yeah, a couple of our customers actually have like sister sites. So one of our customers is a site in Ohio. We just drop ship papillion paper. One of our other customers has 5 sites in the area. We're in talks to kind of just handle all 5 sites. So yeah, just being that central source of packaging.
Okay, very cool. And James, I'm going to ask you a question I ask every one of our podcast guests. If there were one thing that our audience could do to help you and or M5, what would that be?
I appreciate the question. I would absolutely love to start looking at new partnerships for customers in 2026. We obviously know tariffs are impacting people. Job market is pretty tight. So really, I just would love to help other people out and drive total cost of ownership down. I know packaging, no one really thinks about it, right, until it's out, but it's a unique category that, I've found an innate passion for, maybe too much, right? Everywhere I go, I'm kind of picking up boxes, see who made it, kind of feeling the test and stuff like that. So yeah, just definitely want to crossbreed my Fortune 200 experience with small business and help others.
Okay, very nice. I'm going to ask you another question because we got a little extra time here. Bonus question, if you will.
That's
Uh,
good.
I, James, give us a good story, a good M5 story. Like if you look back over the last 5 years, 5.5 years, what's kind of the you know craziest thing that happened to you while running this company?
I just think how it transpired, right? Like I came in from Fortune 200 to look at the company. I was thinking it was this big corporate building, right? It was this old warehouse that was shared. A lot of people don't see the day-to-day stuff. Like, hey, I was driving this big 28-foot box truck for 5.5 years. And it's weird because like during COVID, when I was doing deliveries, people would be like, oh, you're late or this or that. And honestly, I just dropped the customers on the site. I kind of set an early precedence of like, hey, if you're going to treat our guys like this, then, we don't want to deal with you. Yeah, I've dropped customers. I'm not chasing revenue. It's more about relationships. But the ones that do treat us well, I know a lot of shippers and receivers, always giving them kind of gifts and stuff like that. We text, say, hey, we're on the way and stuff like that. So, and I've also seen, how competitors kind of treat, when they do deliveries, but, we're the full circle. We work with the shippers, with the receivers, purchasing, CFOs, CEOs, everyone like that. So yeah, it's probably the craziest thing. I think how small business is done. It's completely different than corporate. I think each has their strengths, but yeah, we handle and adapt to all of them.
Okay, very nice. So a little bit of a golden rule philosophy there for you and M5.
It really is because I mean, at the end of the day, small business isn't perfect, right? We have four of us. If one of us is out, we just lost 25% of our capacity. But our customers understand that and say, hey, and that's why we're proactive and saying, like, hey, here's our team. We're transparent in it. I'm not going to say I have a team of 10, 15, whereas other competitors do. It is what it is, but you're getting the absolute top of attention. I mean, you're getting the best of the best here.
Very nice. James, I appreciate your time today. I also want to thank the audience for making the time to tune in to another episode of Beyond the Inflection Point. And we will see you back here again soon.
Thank you, Sean.